Hello people, it's me. I've been wanting to talk about Attack on Titan for a while now that it's on its final stretch. A lot's been going on in the recent chapters, and we're reaching the end for better or worse. And I think it's worth giving my thoughts on how things have been going. This current arc has been incredible so far, and hopefully it continues to be that. So this chapter starts off where it left off, with the group being saved by Falco in his weird bird titan form, which I do think is kind of strange still and kind of came out of nowhere, but we're just going to overlook that for now. Reiner seems troubled at Falco's return and reminds him about the promise that Falco made to him, that he would save Gabby from the future of being a titan shifter. My guess is that it's just Reiner's reaction to Falco putting her in the middle of this conflict, but Gabby isn't the only person that Falco brought with him, since Annie has finally started to take action herself, and her sights are set on getting Armin back. And the group finally comes to terms with the fact that, in order to stop further destruction of the world, that killing Eren might be necessary. They say this reluctantly and with pain, since they sympathize with him and they understand why he's doing what he's doing. He's trying to ultimately save them and the rest of the people that he knows and loves from the rest of the world that is out to get him and them. And now that they're faced with this really difficult and desperate situation, they don't really have the luxury of saving the rest of the world while keeping Eren alive. That's not something that you could really ask of them at this point. It's not really reasonable anymore. But this is something that Mikasa predictably has a hard time grappling with, as, she's so dependent on Eren in so many ways that the mere thought of killing Eren is something that she can't really process at all. So it takes Annie intervening and basically telling her to not think of anything else and just focus on saving Armin and getting Armin back, so that she can keep her focus on one single goal and not even think about the possibility of killing Eren, which is a very good moment for both of them, showing that Annie still understands Mikasa and was able to redirect her to doing something productive, even though she's still having that internal struggle and is still very conflicted. And during all this, we get to see what's happening on the ground between the Eldians and the Marleyans, and there are Eldians who are asking Marleyan soldiers to help their wounded, but this leads to a standoff between them, showing that Marleyans still have that hatred and fear of Eldians, despite what Marley has stated publicly as of late. Annie's father gets in the middle of it and both sides de-escalate, at least for now. With the new plan the group had formed, John and Reiner get back on Eren, on the Eren Titan or whatever the hell you want to call it. I really don't know what to call this giant Eren Titan bone thing. Next, there's this just really badass moment with Pieck, where she's running on top of the Warhammer Titan's weapon, gets behind it, and takes it out. Her Titan gets destroyed by another, but she just transforms behind that one and kills that one. And she just does this over and over again, getting destroyed but escaping at the right moment, and just kills the Titans from behind when she transforms again. And she's just kicking ass the whole time this chapter, doing stuff that we've never really seen her do before, employing all these crazy techniques and whatnot to take out all these Titans. But it's not like it's contradictory to any of the portrayals that she's had before, because the only Titans that we've seen her fight from before have been Eren and Zeke. And Zeke was, far off on the distance, throwing rocks and throwing stuff. And Eren, she's not going to be able to do that same thing to Eren. So it's not like this is contradictory to how she's been shown so far. I don't think it's like an ass pull or anything. She even states herself that her Titan isn't only built for recon stuff and doing, the kinds of stuff that she's used to doing. She's also very skilled at combat situations. John is very much surprised by this though, and pretty much had the same reaction that I'm sure we all did. But Pieck really saves his ass throughout the chapter. And even with all of Pieck's efforts, it's still not enough to get Jon where he needs to be. So I don't think it's unrealistic at all, since all of those previous Titan shifters are not really themselves, they're just being controlled by Ymir, so her being able to take them out like that isn't completely unrealistic. And I just think it's a great moment for her overall. Next, there's a moment with Annie in which she laments the fact that Bertold is being used as a puppet by Eren and Ymir. And I'm sure Bertold would have been happy to hear that Annie kept him in her memory that way. And it was a moment I really appreciated for sure. And from here it seems that they're going after this pig titan thing. I'm not sure exactly why they're doing that, but that's what they're doing. But ultimately their goal is to get Armin back. So Annie and Mikasa join the fight once again in order to do just that. Then the chapter focuses on Levi, in which we get a very introspective moment for him. Levi is trying to find Zeke because of the final order Erwin had given him, but he's been completely unable to all this time. He's a character that professes to have no regrets on anything, but this seems to be something that continues to eat away at him no matter what he does. Levi's mindset is very hard to maintain within all the moral ambiguity that's been happening in this arc. He's very much somebody who wants to protect people and his own people, but so does Zeke, and really Zeke and Levi are not that different when it comes down to what they truly want. So it's somewhat tragic to see that they've been at odds all this time when really they care about the same things, they're just going about it in completely different ways. He wonders if his role had ended once he reached the sea with all the other Eldians and realized Erwin's dream. It seems that Levi is at a loss with the kind of world that he's found himself in, and is still struggling with how he and the other Survey Corps envisioned the outside world, and dreamed how it would be like. He asks himself why him and the others on Paradis had fought as hard as they did, when the outside world proved to be just as cruel, if not even more so, than the one that they already knew. He came to the conclusion that the world they envisioned was born of ignorance and just an idealized dream that didn't reflect reality. It seems no matter what they do, the world continues to be cruel every step of the way. But even still, Levi presses on with all of his injuries and tries to save what he still has, the people that he still cares about and the people who are still alive. All he can do is to continue to do what he always has, save lives. He says he has no regrets about entrusting the future to Armin, and he sees it as his duty to keep that hope for a future alive with Armin, because Armin shares that same look in his eyes that Erwin did back when Erwin led what was left of the Survey Corps. And that responsibility that has been put on Armin is one that weighs heavy on him. The chapter finally shows Armin cursing himself and his inability to help the people he's been fighting alongside all this time. He hates how he hasn't been able to live up to the expectations that he puts on himself and that others put on him. A lot of this self-deprecation is very much exaggerated and always has been. He's always been very hard on himself, especially after he ate Bertold, and Bertold's self-doubt and complacency kind of rubbed off on him. He puts himself down, beats himself up over things that are oftentimes just out of his control and really can't be helped. But he finds himself in the same dimension that Eren took Zeke to, where Ymir was and Eren went through all the flashbacks with Zeke. But the reason why Eren took Armin here is anyone's guess. Maybe he did it to protect him from the ongoing conflict, since Armin is very important to Eren and always has been. Maybe he wants to use him in some way, or maybe he just wants to show him the world he wants to create and the full reasoning as to why he's doing what he's doing. It could be all three of those things, but I guess we'll see in the next chapter, which, I really hope we do, since there's only a few chapters left. But the next chapter will certainly get into some very interesting interactions between Armin and Zeke, which I'm very much looking forward to. Of course, I'm hoping for Eren to interact with Armin as well, which we will hopefully see in this next chapter. But on the topic of Eren, I really don't see him winning this conflict at this point. But it would be very interesting if he actually managed to, despite the few chapters that we have left and not enough time to set up an Eren victory, at least in my mind. And that might bother, a few people who wanted a darker ending for Attack on Titan, but I think as long as Isayama continues to handle things in the way he's been doing, I think we can get a satisfactory ending that would be fitting for Attack on Titan. Not everyone is going to like how this series ends, I'm sure of that, but I'd urge fans just to keep an open mind and, of course, be critical as well, but hope for the best. Overall, I really enjoyed this chapter. Though there wasn't too much progression, there was enough interesting character interactions and introspections that kept it engaging throughout. Removed from the fact that there is only a few chapters left, I think this was a very, very solid chapter. But if you disagree or have any other thoughts or takes on this chapter and how Attack on Titan is going to end, feel free to talk about it in the comments. Here's hoping that Isayama doesn't drop the ball. And thank you very much for sticking with me. Hope you'll stick with me for the next one.